Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears and your mind. Do your own research because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda.
All right, good evening, folks. We're about to start with a clip. And the clip is just how good were us Aussies, guys? How good were we? Well, tonight we're going to take a little trip back through history, and Caz is going to tell us a lot of stuff about what went on and how it went on and just how good we are, guys, because we're in a fight for our lives. And with Remembrance Day coming up, I think this is a great little reminder of who we are as Australians and what we've done. Let's go, Caz.
Set your sights, 1,600 meters. Set your sights, 1,600 meters. Hey, mate, all check in.
What's the matter with you? Is he dead?
Okay, whack us in. So, guys, there's a little example of, who the Australians are, and we're in that spot right now, guys, where we're charging the line. All right,
Yeah,
there's not a bullet. There's not a bullet to be fired at us. All right, but there's plenty coming in around us, like they were dropping from the top there on them. Okay, and that's happening to us all the way around, guys, from the 5G to the electromagnetics to the chemtrails, right, to the food poisoning, to the taking of our lands, everything, all right? But they kept persistent and they broke the line. They charged the gates and they break the line. Where are the gates? Gates are down at the governors. That's where we can break the line, guys. All right? No bullets.
Hang on, Dave, just before you go on, let me give some background to what actually happened. So the details of it are really important. So what had happened is the Turks had actually held that place, Beersheba, it's a gateway to Jerusalem, and they'd held it for, I think, around about 800 years. And even in Poland, everyone who tried to actually break in had failed. Okay, they're hardy warriors, the Turks. And so what had actually happened was there were 10,000 dug-in soldiers and battle tanks, British tanks, and they tried for days and days and days, and they were running low on supplies and water. Now, their horses hadn't had water for 3 days. And then Allenby just walked over and said, why don't you let our boys have a go? And they just basically dismissed it and then, oh, all right, because they just basically dismissed the Australians. So what actually happened was they mounted the fray and they just basically charged. Well, what happened was the horses got a whiff of the water, and not having water for 3 days, they actually just bolted. So they just let it out. Now, what happened then was that the Turks couldn't bring their sights down fast enough because so they came in under fire. They only lost, I think, around about 8 boys. But what had happened prior to that was that most of those boys, and it's not probably very well reported, but most of those boys were Bible-carrying Christians. They'd actually prayed beforehand that the armies of the Lord would go before them. So what happened was they came in really hard and fast, and then they jumped the lines and they basically ripped the Turks out from behind the lines. But a lot of the Turks had already left. When they left, they spoke to the Turks afterwards and said, what did you just run away for? And they said, we'd never seen such a mighty army. And yet there were only 800 of them. I think they lost 8. There were only 8 killed during that charge. And that's just absolutely phenomenal. But the thing about it is, it makes it really remarkable in history, is it was prophesized. Because in Isaiah it says they will be a young nation, they will be volunteers that will release, that will basically free Jerusalem. Then what happened, because Beersheba is the gateway to Jerusalem, they went on and took Jerusalem. And then they had to hide in the city for 3 days and wait for Lawrence of Arabia to arrive so that he could claim victory. He wasn't even there. So now, but our boys were so humble. What happened is one kid wrote, he was only like 17, I think. I think he was actually underage. And he wrote home to his sister and he goes, sis, they're calling us heroes. He goes, I don't know too much about that. He goes, when we came over that hill, he said, my horse got a whiff of that water and it was all I could do to hang on to him.
Yeah. Actually, it was 31 Caz and 36 injured.
Okay, 70 horses, yeah.
That's it. So it goes down and still in history as one of the most remarkable charges in history. So,
can you imagine the energy of the roar of those horses coming at you? And at that moment, you know what I mean? Like you can hear it because it's like a thunderous roar as those horses, coming closer and closer and closer. You know what I mean? Like just incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible.
And they are the killers. We are the subduers, guys. Yeah. That's it, right? We're here to subdue without force, without guns, without bullets. All right, but we will subdue with the power of numbers. That was what I was going to finish with. That's it. We are going to do it.
Well, that's it. But the thing is, too, like when we're looking at history, why history is so important, especially today, especially at this moment. If we have a look at the horses, now those horses were brought over specifically, and they're actually known as whalers. Here's a bit of information on them.
The light horse evokes a sense of great horsemanship and courage, and a powerful bond between men and their trusted mounts. In the War of 1914 to 1918, some 15,000 men rode with the light horse. Their prized remount, the stockman's whaler, the horse bred tough for the Australian bush. Strong and sturdy. No whalers came home from war Most saw out their lives in service of other forces or tilling soil in distant lands. The whaler still walks the Australian bush, a proud memory of the horses 100 years ago.
Now, why they didn't come home, and this is the terrible part about it, is that the soldiers were told that they couldn't take their horses back. There wasn't enough room when the war ended, and they were going to give them to the Arabs. So they were going to give them to they couldn't bear the way they saw the way that the Arabs handled their horses and treated their animals, and they loved their animals so much. Most of them killed their own animal. So imagine going through the charge, going through all of that horror, and then having to turn around and basically because you loved your animal so much and it had protected you and it had been your animal, that it had basically taken you through everything. And look, not a lot of people know this, but horses are actually kind of psychic. If you want a horse to do something, you actually just picture it in your head what you want it to do, and it will do it for you. So imagine that trauma thing, that connection, and then that trauma that those boys went through. Dave?
Do you reckon that the slaughtering of our Australian brumbies is another part of our heritage being wiped out? That's what I'm just, a penny drop now. It's not about the brumbies. It's actually about our heritage and relationship of the brumbies to the whalers, you know what I mean? Or the whalers to the brumbies, right? And that's probably what it's all about, because they're fighting this psychological war, guys, and they're ripping down everything that, we find is structure, to our way of life, you know what I mean? And that just clicked on me then. That's no doubt why they're attacking the brumbies so hard, because they're part of our history, right? They're a big part of these,
Everything is an attack on history, and as we go into it in a moment as well. Now, one of the things that's very important to remember is our enlisted Indigenous people as well, the brothers. I'm going to start calling them the brothers, okay? They call them the brothers around here. They refer to each other as the brothers. They ask us to refer to them as the brothers. I refer to them as the brothers, okay? So I'm basically going to, that's Wiradjuri, I think, but maybe it's just isolated here. But anyway, look, the brothers have always been part of that. Have a look at this.
During the First World War, more than 1,000 Aboriginal people enlisted or attempted to enlist in the Australian Imperial Force. They were amongst our first Anzacs. They fought in Gallipoli, in the trenches of the Western Front and the Middle East. Despite institutional racism, government policy and the prevailing attitude at the time, with laws that limited Indigenous participation, many chose to enlist to serve their country. For most of these men, joining the Defence Force afforded greater equality than in general Australian society. They enjoyed equal pay, same work and the respect of fellow servicemen and women when in uniform. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander soldiers were recognised for their bravery and gallantry, being awarded honours including the Distinguished Conduct Medal, the Military Medal and mentioned in dispatches. Yet there remained some way to go in achieving genuine equality in the Australian society. Indigenous women also joined the military forces and supported the war effort in significant numbers. Indigenous Australians have since fought in the Korean War, the Malay Emergency and Borneo. During Australia's long involvement in the Vietnam War, upwards of 300 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people served in the armoured, artillery and engineering units of the Australian Army, as well as support units of the Royal Australian Navy and the Royal Australian Air Force. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have since served in every conflict and humanitarian effort Australia has been involved in.
All right, now this guy here was actually Australia's top sniper and one of the top snipers in the world. Okay, his name was Billy Singh, and he was a cross between Chinese, European and Aboriginal. And he was so good at it that they sent Abdul they sent a guy called Abdul, who was a top sniper, to go and kill him. So what did Billy do? Shot him. Okay, he was he was incredible. So I'm just trying to look up the numbers here that he got. So he saved over 100 lives, and his incredible accuracy. So he died basically when he returned home and came home, and he was just basically just never really acknowledged. But there you go.
A lot of these blokes came back pretty shell shocked, when it was all said and done. But no, it's interesting with all that though, Caz. It's the level of divide and conquer. They've been trying to do it to us for freaking decades. You know what I mean? For the color of our skin, or the language that we speak, or the food that we eat, or they've been trying to divide us.
The religion that we look at, yeah.
Absolutely, Dave. So. Yeah, it's quite fascinating in that respect, you know what I mean? But you're right. They're all brothers and sisters. They're our Indigenous brothers and sisters, and that's it. And that's how it always should have been from the get-go.
And it always has been. And here's a little flashback as to why. Now, I don't know if this is actually published. Anyway, let's have a look at this. This is Eureka.
We swear by the Southern Cross. We swear by the Southern Cross. To stand truly by each other. To stand truly by each other. And to fight to defend our rights and liberties. And to fight to defend our rights and liberties. Amen. Amen.
Now, here's the history behind it. But then I'm going to tell you some history that they don't tell you.
1854, British troops clashed with Australian gold miners in what became known as the Battle of the Eureka Stockade. Let's learn about it. In 1851, the British government in Australia introduced a brand new tax to do with gold mines. This caused tensions between the government and the miners, who now had to pay for these expensive new land permits, and they began organising strikes, protests and boycotts of the tax. Government attempts to suppress these miners only fueled further resentment, and soon in November 1854 they rose a brand new flag up and proclaimed themselves in open rebellion until their demands were met. The miners began disagreeing over what it was they actually wanted. Some of them were very confused about how they were trying to both fight the British and make peace with them, and when some of the rebels began throwing around the rhetoric of supporting Irish independence, many of the miners lost interest in the whole thing and went home. By the 2nd of December 1854, the rebel force had shrunk to only 150 men at their fortified camp, and on the 3rd of December 1854, the rebel camp was attacked by about 270 British military police. Some shots were exchanged between the two sides, but the rebel force was quickly overwhelmed and the British police began to sack the camp. Despite the fact that the rebellion was a complete disaster, it is often referred to as the birth of Australian democracy. The rebel leader, Peter Lalor, was elected to the Australian Parliament in 1856, and he began pushing for some of the reforms the miners actually wanted, such as universal male suffrage and the removal of property regulations for the Legislative Assembly.
Now, what they don't tell you is that the reason why they were able to sustain against the British for so long is because the local mob, the brothers, fed them and looked after them and made sure that they were all right. And another thing that they don't tell you is the convicts and a lot of the bushrangers, they formed very strong bonds with the brothers. And a lot of them used to, because they all had the common enemy. There's a lot of rhetoric going around about how we're the invaders and all of that sort of stuff. There were invaders, but it wasn't the majority. The people who built here built the country. A lot of them actually intermarried.
We got on well with them. You know, they were killing them while we were getting on with them. You know, again, way back then, guys, for what? Division. You know, again. You know, but
they also, sorry, Dave.
Go.
But they also found their feet. You know, with the anti-establishment, even back in that period in time. You know what I mean? So they weren't going to be sort of pushed around. You know, and so there obviously was an alliance where they kind of started to. Almost, you know, that's what it is. A common man can see it with his own two eyes. You know, so he would have seen even the Indigenous brothers at the time being taken, you know, being abused and all the rest of it. And so, you know, it's that solidarity where we all stand together as one, you know.
And there was nothing like the abuse that the Australian convicts suffered. Like, they reported nine tails that they used to flog them with, used to leave strips of flesh. The Aboriginals were horrified. And not just the Aboriginals, not just the brothers were horrified. It was basically even the white people that were coming over here.
Yeah.
They were horrified. And yes, Charles, you're right. The Rum Rebellion was the original rebellion. And would you believe that I know somebody who's married to somebody, the two people that were leading the face-off with each other. One was an African-American, and not a lot of people know this, but he was brought over. They had 12 African-Americans that were brought over in the first flight because after the American Revolution, failed revolution, they basically, or successful revolution, they didn't know what to do with them, so they sent them out as guards. So he was on one side, and the other guy that was on the other side, they have a descendant sort of married, okay, and they actually share now great grandchildren from about 10, 20 generations ago. So it's look, only in Australia could that happen because we all became one over a period of time.
Yeah, you've got to get back there.
Well, that's it.
Well,
now we're just going to have a go. Dave.
No, I was just going to say, look, I was talking to G'day Robert. I was just talking to someone today, and yeah, look, there are a lot more people again. You know, I'm getting told waking up out there, but the majority, when you look at these polls that they got now, whether you can believe this, guys, but you know, they're dumping the Liberals, all right, and I think that white people are dumping the Liberals and the Nationals is because they're going against the net zero. So we've still got a lot of people out there convinced that, you know, these bullshit Bowen is actually on the right track and are in agreement with what's going on. So we've still got a lot of work to do, guys, from what I see out there. All right. A real lot of work to do. Yep.
Well, that's it. Now, of course, we know about what happened to Gallipoli, and you know, but like, here's another side of the things that that we actually don't hear about often.
Australia had what was known as a White Australia policy. When the Australians got to Gallipoli and met Indian troops, rather than disdaining them and saying, "Oh, we don't want to associate with you, you wouldn't even be allowed in the country," they actually responded very warmly to them. And both sides got on. The Indians spoke, you know, learned bits of English. The Australians learned bits of Punjabi, not much, hardly any. But with sign language and goodwill and exchanging gifts and food and things, the two sides actually formed a relationship that I find extraordinarily and in a way quite moving. Because
All right, so you actually have that report of it, okay? And then if you actually look at something like that, what happened at Kokoda as well. So let's just have a look at a bit of a look at that.
Jarafa, 500 Australians defied the advance of at least 4,000 Japanese troops. It was a time when the Japanese seemed invincible. These were Australia's darkest days. Following the rapid collapse of Singapore and the Philippines, now the Japanese had landed on the east coast of New Guinea, then technically Australian soil, and were pushing overland through the rugged Owen Stanley Ranges in the direction of Port Moresby, and beyond that, Australia.
Did you ever have any doubts that you could hold the line?
We didn't have the time to have doubts. We had so much to do. Never had time to entertain doubts. We didn't express them to each other.
I mean, there was no confusion about what the diggers were doing here. They were fighting for themselves, their families, their mates, Australia. And these guys were the last line of defence between this Japanese onslaught and Australia. If they'd failed, who knows?
And here is an interview from one of those diggers that actually got malaria. I don't know if anyone's had malaria, but it's horrendous. But anyway, here he is. Here.
on the Kokoda Trail multiple times.
Yeah.
What were the symptoms and how did you survive that?
Okay, first of all, you start to get freezing cold and you shake. The whole body shakes. And then you start to sweat and the sweat's pouring out of it. You can't get warm. They can put 50 blankets on you. It's no good. The only thing that used to break the fever was quinine. It looked like water. It came from the bark of a tree in Java. We only had a certain amount of quinine. And what the nursing sisters used to do, a little medicine glass 3 times a day. And that's the only thing that broke the fever.
I can just imagine being that sick while fighting a war. How do you get through that?
Don't ask me. I don't know because we all had to do it. No person went up there didn't get malaria. And I'll tell you how long it lasts. Not the last time I was in hospital, the time before. They found out after 83 years there's still malarial blood in my body.
Wow.
Well, yeah, quinine, guys. That's what I was doing when I sailed. Yeah, go, Frank.
I was going to say, remember Schweppes used to do the lemon drink with the quinine in it.
Yeah, and well, there was a soda water, that had
that's
quinine.
right.
Yep.
I don't even think they do it anymore, Dave.
No, of course they wouldn't be. You could get back then,
Jesus.
Yeah, but
Wow.
you don't get anything like that anymore, Frank. You just get the
mate.
cheap synthetic model, mate. That's going to ruin you. Can bring back the good old days.
Mm.
It is anti-parasitic, actually, quinine. Exactly right.
All right. Now, before we go to the Battle of Long Tan, I thought it was really interesting to actually take a look at some of the characters that we don't often hear about. Have a look at this. This is Jesse Hickman.
Did you know that one of Australia's last bushrangers wasn't Ned Kelly or Captain Thunderbolt, but a woman who commanded a gang of young men she called her Young Bucks? This is the incredible story of Jesse Hickman, the lady bushranger who lived until 1936. Born in 1890, Jessie's parents gave her away to a travelling circus when she was just 8 years old. There she became a master sharpshooter and horsewoman, even winning the Australian Female Rough Riding Championship in 1906. When the circus folded, Jessie found herself in Sydney, desperate for money, and quickly turned to crime. After a stint in the infamous Long Bay prison, she learned the cattle-stealing trade from a crooked dealer, who she allegedly killed with a broken chair leg when his abuse became too much. By the 1920s, Jessie was operating around Mudgee, stealing cattle under cover of darkness while dressed as a man and sleeping in caves. Local young men were so fascinated by this lady outlaw that they begged to join her gang as her Young Bucks. Her apparent escapes were legendary. She is said to have ridden her horse off a cliff into a river to evade police. Another time, she apparently escaped from a locked train bathroom, and she once started fake rumours about possum poisoning to distract cops while her gang raided a police holding yard. For years, Jessie and her gang ran circles around the authorities. The stolen cattle business was so profitable that she bought mountain property with the proceeds. When finally caught in 1928, she was acquitted due to lack of evidence. Jessie vanished back into the bush and died forgotten in 1936 from a brain tumour. She was only 46 years old. Australia's last true bushranger lies in an unmarked grave largely forgotten.
Well,
they
there
don't
you
make
go.
them like that anymore.
We
yeah.
had loads of them. We had we had loads of bushrangers.
Yeah.
Every second person was a bushranger because they all had one thing in common. They hated the British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the ones that's not very well known is actually Yarra Creek Tom. He's a character. This is just a bit of him.
Yama. You've probably heard of famous bushrangers like Ned Kelly and Captain Thunderbolt before, but I want to tell you the story of an Aboriginal outlaw who you probably didn't learn about in school. And most of his story takes place within a 30-kilometre radius of where I'm sitting right now. This right here is the ruins of the Bald Knob Hotel, where in 1879 troopers ambushed local Aboriginal outlaw Yarra Creek Tommy as he lay sleeping and put 17 bullets into his body, a man police and media portrayed as such a terror they had a huge reward on his head. But locals tell a story of a likeable and trustworthy man, far from what the police and media portray. To get to the truth of the matter, we'll need to go right back to where his story begins. There are some stories that suggest he came from further south, but most of the evidence suggests that he was born here at Yarranunda, Yarrow Creek, a Barnby or Ngarrable man. Records show that the rest of his mob were massacred by poison as part of the genocide of the New England blacks, and Tommy headed south for work. He returned to Yarrow Creek in 1877 on a beautiful horse, which police claimed was stolen, leading to the first of many arrests and dramatic escapes.
Now, that guy, he is absolutely hilarious. His escapes are legendary, and a movie should be made about him. One time, when he was arrested, he asked if he could go to the toilet, and so he walked over the thing. And then after a while, they decided that they better go and check on him. And what he'd done was he'd slipped out of his boots and left the boots there so that they could see the boots, okay, and thought that he was doing his business, and he was off on the run. And there were so many times where he just basically outsmarted them. He climbed up a tree. He did all sorts of stuff. He is absolutely hilarious, but he was also very wealthy because what he did was he bought land where he had a gold mine. And all of the people, all the people in the area loved him. So that was why it was very hard for them to catch him, because he was so well thought of. No one would dob him in.
Usual, isn't it? The old, Robin Hood again, you know what I mean? Doing the right thing, why? Because the government was doing the wrong thing. It's throughout history, isn't it?
Yeah. And I reckon they killed him not because of his demeanors. It was because of that land they probably wanted in the first place.
Yeah, now the legend of Desi Freeman is upon us.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Long Tan. Let's have a look at this.
Battle of Long Tan, 1966 Australian forces. A quiet morning in Vietnam. 108 Australian soldiers on patrol. Then chaos erupts. 2,000 Viet Cong attack. Mortars rain down. The odds are impossible. The Australians hold their ground. Outnumbered 20-1. Every bullet counts. Desperate calls for help. Reinforcements fight through the jungle. Armored vehicles break through the enemy lines. The Viet Cong retreat. 18 Australians lost. 245 enemy dead. A victory against impossible odds. The Battle of Long Tan becomes a symbol of courage and resolve.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually the long guns that actually saved their asses in that battle, right? And they knew that the fire, of the barrels were so close, but they had no choice. They had to actually just dig themselves in as the long guns just took aim. And basically, we were talking meters, absolute meters. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made it at all. Absolutely not.
No, well, it is incredible. But the thing is that when you actually look at our great military exploits, you've got the Gallipoli campaign. There were 7 of the 9 Victoria Crosses. Okay, of all the 7 of the 9 that were awarded during World War One, basically went to Australians at Lone Pine.
Aren't they the ones that are scattered down our Hume Highway, Caz? Isn't that all the stops down on the way to Canberra? I think they're all, actually recipients. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the Battle of Bathsheba. You got the Kokoda, where 4,000. We took on 4,000. There were only 300 of us, and we took on 4,000. And it was that's huge. We've always been outnumbered. We have always been outnumbered, and by significance. The Battle of Milne Bay, the Battle of Singapore. Did you know that there was only 15% of the whole fighting force, the Commonwealth fighting force, was only Australians, right? Yet they sustained 85% of the injuries. And why is that? Because Australians always put themselves front and centre in a battle.
Yeah, we don't mind picking a fight.
No, that's it. Well, we don't. Well, here's the thing: is that
we finish fights. We get brought in to finish them, Frank. We don't start them, mate. We just get brought in when the balls are needed, and that's what the spirit we got to get back, Australia.
Yeah,
that's right. And this guy here, he puts it really well. I can only play a bit of it because he swears so much.
Australia, this is not the time to be sitting around fucking whinging and being victims. Okay, the train is moving. We need to get on that fucking train and we keep that train going. We keep it going fucking faster. We keep it going fucking harder. Okay? This is no fucking time to be sitting around like fucking pussies. We're fucking Anzacs. Huh? Our fucking kids' lives are in danger. These leaders that we put all our trust into them, they're meant to be fucking guiding our country in the right direction. They fucking lied to us. They've betrayed us. They put all our lives in fucking danger. Okay?
I have to leave it there because there's so much swearing, but you can see. But one of the things that, now I think in the Western, I actually have this belief that I believe that Australia's going to be the first nation to reclaim their country back. And if you look at what's going on at the moment, you've got one of the things that we had against us is that we're introverts. We're 75% introverts, which a lot of the time, like we adopted a lot of the Aboriginal cultures. So, for example, we really esteem our animals. We won't kill insects. That's because there's been a blending there with the brothers. Now we're 75%. That makes us unique in the rest of the world. So, but if you look at it from a prophetic point of view, it was prophesied that we would be the first fruits nation, a young people that would actually liberate Israel. Now we know that it's been hijacked with Khazarian mafia and the Zionists and all that sort of stuff. We know that, but that doesn't change the prophecy. But if you look at the symbolism as well, the Southern Cross, the sun rises first on us, the Southern Cross is at our backs. There is something very special about Australia, and I believe that and if you look at what happened with the March for Australia, there was a boiling point that came. Now, I get that it kind of got hijacked, and that's a pity because the momentum was there. But there is another point. There's a trigger point that will come, and every single Australian will just basically go, hands down, that's enough. I don't know what it will be, but I can see it coming because if you look at all of the men that are standing up at the moment, Scotty with his rants, Sam Bamford with his rants, it's coming. That time is coming where we will just basically go, no, and there will be just no way that we'll back down from this point, because I think everyone has just about pretty much had enough.
Yep. I would happen to agree, yeah. Too right, mate. We've had enough.
Absolutely.
And especially when we're being like, look at this. This is what we're having to endure at the moment.
Came to Australia long before Europeans did. The first Indians that came to Australia can be traced back to 4,000 years ago. Even the dingo came from India. It was the breed of dog that came to Australia from India around 4,000 years ago and evolved into what we...
Now, there's a lot of those coming. There's a lot of those things coming at the moment. Okay, now fact check on him. No, actually, the dingo, if it came from anywhere, it came from Southern Asia.
Well, he can go and take his fucking dingoes back with him if he wants.
Yeah, and you've got these ones as well. Listen to this.
Indian racism is at an all-time high, not because we take their jobs. These dumbasses can't be doctors and lawyers. It's because we take their land that they stole. And these colonizers know exactly what happens when you get pushed out because they've done it to so many.
Now these people are basically almost, they're really kind of pissing us off. But one of the things that why is history so important? Okay, let's do a little bit of a history lesson on India. So when the British ruled India, there were only 10,000 of the troops against 300 million. Why were they so successful? Because the Indian people basically sold themselves out. Now, if you look at when General Dyer ordered the firing at the Jallianwala Bagh, who was it that pulled the trigger? Was it the English soldiers? No, it wasn't. It was actually the Indians. So now the thing is that, and if you look at the Central Asian Mongols that ruled there, they ruled there for thousands of years, and yet, hello, they had the ability, the manpower, but they never did. They actually have never really stood up. The only time they did was with Gandhi, which we'll get to. But before Gandhi came along, they had Bhagat Singh. And why was Bhagat Singh? Who betrayed Bhagat Singh? Oh, their own people. So now when he actually had to take a Christian ideology and spend, I think it was 4 years going around the whole of India teaching them that they're the apple of God's eye. Because it was their ideology that was the problem with the caste system.
Yeah.
So they've never had freedom. They've never fought for anything. And yet they're coming over here and they're lecturing us. And now they decide that they're actually Aboriginals here first. No, they weren't. The Aboriginals, the brothers have the DNA of all people groups. They're the only people group that does. And there's more evidence to suggest that we actually broke off the bottom of, from a southern continent. And the reason why is because we have completely unique flora and fauna. There's no other mammals like we have in this country. So there's nowhere else in the world that's got them. So anyway, yeah.
God had a great plan. God had a brilliant plan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what did you want to say? Because you were talking about Gandhi before, Franco.
Yeah, well, as I said previously, Gandhi said he would have followed Jesus, but if it wasn't for the Christians that turned him away, you know what I mean? And he's absolutely right in many respects, you know what I mean? But the thing is with the Indians, when you go back into their history, and you think of the population, the mass population that India has in terms of numbers, yet they bowed down and became submissive.
And that's why they've been brought in.
That's exactly right.
They've bowed down to the digital ID.
That's it. You got it.
Yeah, and so now they're coming over here and lording it over us and telling us that we can't have, well, actually, we do have a problem. We don't have a problem when you come over here and you integrate, but we are coming over here and being used as a weapon and then being used as a psychological weapon with your, rather than actually just going, hey, this is a great country, I never want to go back, or even acknowledging it, that sort of stuff, then there is a problem. There's a problem.
Oh, there is. There is. Don't worry. Everyone's going to have their day in the sun eventually anyway, Caz.
There is a massive problem, and people are starting to wake up to it, I think. So, what a day, Remembrance Day, guys, to bring that collective together, new and old, all right, young and old, but new and old waking up, all right, and bring them in and let's show them what respect is, because as I said, my granddad was a Raditcherbrook, guys, stands very proud with me, and now I know why. I was the one. I was the black sheep. I was the rebel. Okay. Being a rebel's cost me dearly. Standing up for what I know, and what I know is truth, and what I know is bullshit in history has cost me. But guess what? I wouldn't have it any other way, guys. So I think I'll let Kazza close the show tonight, soon as she done her documentary, and that was my little spiel for the night, guys. See you during the week. We got some other people coming up during the week. I think on Thursday night, I've been told now, in relation to the 11th, and I think Frank's returning on that night as well. So see you tomorrow, guys. Take it away, Kaz and Frank. Go for it.
Franco, Franco, you go. We're just going to be taken out by Lee Kertigan. See you at Bathsheba, I think it is. I think it's called.
Right.
We'll take Bathsheba. So,
Frank and Kaz, then the outro.
Yeah, tools down. 11 of the oven. Stand up. Thousands we want. Heaps. Come on down. It's time.
It is time.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right. Good night, everybody. And
what a wrap up. Come on, Kazza. Give us a wrap up. Come on, put you under pressure. Let's go. Give me a wrap. Go. 30 seconds.
Because I love history because it shows us who we are. It shows us and this is why they try to stop us from knowing who we are, because that's in our DNA. Most of the time, people who are war heroes, I live in a war hero's house. He was shot down and then he survived in the jungle by basically living in trees. He swam through shark-infested waters. He fought his way back. And anyway, and then he got recaptured. Now, my sister's husband, his father was a war hero as well. He was 19 years old when ship was basically, when there was problems with the ship. I think they faced some sort of bombing, or he took command of the ship. 19 years old, and he basically got his men through, and he got to safety, and he basically took on We've always been the underdog. We've always been the underdog, and we have always been severely outnumbered, and we're outnumbered at the moment, and our government is our enemy. They are against us, but one thing that we've always had is a spirit, and our DNA remembers it, even if we don't. Our DNA does remember that. So we will fight. We will win this. And we will. We will win this. But it's good to know that we're going to win it before we actually do. Before we go into battle, at least.
All right. Good night, folks.
Take the Shiva, stir up and on like horsemen, ride on through dust and bullets till we take the Shiva.
Half a mile to the rise, we'll take the Turks by surprise. Keep the trot, hold the line as we wait for the sign. Clear the brow of the hill, keep it steady until we're in range of the guns. Then we'll break into a run. Forward we'll take Bathsheba, spur up and on like horsemen. Ride on through dust and bullets till we take Bathsheba. Bayonets flash in the sun, Johnny squint down their guns. Captain Davies gives a yell, we went at 'em like hell. Riders fall, horses run, empty saddles splash with blood. Turkish trenches 50 yards, squadron they led the charge. Forward we'll take Bathsheba, spur up and on like horsemen. Ride on through dust and bullets till we take Bathsheba. Slouch hat with plumes of flying, spur up and on like horsemen. Ride on through dust and bullets till we take Bathsheba.
Hooves go hell for leather, flying horses clear the trenches. Man and beast leap up and over. Man and beast leap up and over.
Forward we'll take Bathsheba, spur up and on like horsemen. Ride on through dust and bullets till we take Bathsheba. Slouch hat with plumes of flying, spur up and on like horsemen. Ride on through dust and bullets till we take Bathsheba.